How does one make content for TDX? Quite frankly, I don't really know. There's not much to do that hasn't already been done, and what's been done is basically everything. Because when you remember that the person called Rogue Ordinary exists, you'll truly end up realizing that quite literally everything has been done. I do also want to branch out and become a general YouTuber one day, so I'll probably try posting other content. On another note though, this video is supposed to be my say on a couple of TDX's last issues to wrap up my saga of giving TDX feedback that may or may not work by addressing my last few issues with the game. And I feel like TDX's main content issues lie within two different things. One, TDX in general is very limiting in its gameplay, and two, TDX has no RNG elements. Now, I've gone on and said that gambling is a really good hook, but quite frankly, it's also a really good way to retain players. And sorry, Noel, I'm sorry, but it's the truth backed up by the top 100 games on the platform currently right now. A game needs to have some sort of RNG element or gambling in order to succeed on the platform gifted to us by David Bazooka. Like, I'm not saying TDX needs to have RNG and gambling, well, I kind of am, but in order to increase replayability, TDX needs to have some sort of RNG elements to spice up gameplay, especially in Endless. Now, when Endless was initially teased and released, I thought it was going to be randomly generated, a truly infinite game mode, especially with the Snow Predator teaser.
I thought they were going to be in a wave that randomly occurs at the latter half of Endless when Apex Predator is accompanied by Snow and normal Predators, because quite frankly, it doesn't make sense for Snow Predators to be there, like, why? But
instead, Endless is just a mind-numbing game mode who only has variety within its map choices, which even then are kind of limited to the classic oil rig thanks to its warship placements. As such, I do want to bring back the idea with the waves following wave 80 being randomized in its bosses every 10 waves. So what if on every 10th wave after like wave 80, so this would be like wave 80, you would get a random wave, one of like 10 options or something, right? So say these are 3 options, and this one is like really hard, so we're gonna set it to a 90, like we're gonna have to wait a bit here. We'll set this one to like a 60 because it's just a horde. Then this one is like an 85, right? So let's just say on 85, it figures out which one of these waves you're going to face against for wave 90, and it's completely randomized. And since you're on wave 85, there's like 85 points. Every wave, a point of difficulty gets added. So now it has the option of choosing between Calamity, the Horde, and also the resurrected Plague Doctor, right? But since the Calamity is 90 difficulty points, and 90 is over 85, it's impossible to actually fight the Calamity on wave 90, because like on wave 85 it figures out which one you're going to fight on 90, right? But for wave 60, it's possible to fight the Horde, because no, not wave 60, because the Horde is only 60 points, you can fight it on wave 90, right? Because 85 points is over 60 points, and because 85 points for the Resurrected Plague Doctor plus is equal to the wave points you got right now, you can also fight it on wave 90. So it figures out which one of these threats you're going to fight on wave 85, and then it transfers it to wave 90 in which you'll fight it. Now the reason why I am calculating which one of these 3 options you're going to fight before it actually happens, like before wave 90, is because we want to send the players a message, right? Advisor is going to tell you like the upcoming threat 5 waves before, so players can like ready up, but also know which one of these they're going to get screwed over by. And say you get like the Horde is coming. Right, so now you have the Horde, and because the Horde is only 60 difficulty points, and it's wave 85 that is getting picked upon, we don't want it to be a super easy breeze, right? So for every single one of these difficulty points it's under, each one of the enemies that spawn get a small amount of shield. So now all of the Horde enemies that spawn will have like, I don't know, plus like 50 shield or something. It's probably going to be way more than that. Just 50 isn't really much because as with Endless, all of the towers are OP and all of the enemies are as well, so we're gonna have to give them a lot of shield, but you get the gist, right? So 50 points of shield, a bunch of health, and then it sends a horde. But if you were to get the Resurrected Plague Doctor, it'd be slightly different, because then you would have like, let me pull it up, Plague Guy is coming. So the Plague Guy is coming, and because the points are equal, he doesn't actually gain any shield, he just spawns normally and beats your ass, right? And so that's how I would randomize the system. And like afterwards, it would obviously continue on, right? So then there would be like wave 95, wave 100. So wave 95 would pick what wave 100 would be, and because 95 is over 90, it would spawn the Calamity. It would have a chance of spawning the Calamity, and it would give it a little bit of shield. And then there would be Calamity is coming, but only after like wave 90, right? So I think that would be like super interesting, and it would add a lot of RNG elements and replayability to Endless mode, because currently it's all the same stuff and you have to deal with the same thing the entire time. So that's how I would change Endless mode, in my opinion. But once again, another problem with TDX is the restrictiveness of its nature. Like if you think about resistances in general, resistances are literally just a bunch of numbers John put on certain enemies to nerf or prevent the usage of certain towers. So now I'll tell you how I'm gonna make it better using timed releases. So normally on wave 8, right, you have your defenses, they're all lined up and they're ready to rumble, right? However, a lot of times your defenses are probably just going to be bullet defenses. And so this guy appears, this exosuit zombie. He comes along and he destroys all of your defenses because he has a whopping 80% ignore bullet resistance. I think it's actually higher. It should be 85% or so. So he has 80%, right? But if you have a bazooka, for example, you can easily deal with him because it does explosive damage instead. So all you need to do is just bring a bazooka tower, right? An explosive tower. Wrong! Because the skull drones also exist, and these skull drones are a major threat because they have 70 HP and they can kill your towers if they want to, and also kill you because once again they have 70 HP. That's enough to destroy your base in a couple of them, right? So now you not only need to deal with the bullet resistance, you also have to deal with flying enemies, and you need a tower that can do that. So you're limited to like one of 4 options to deal with both of these threats. But what if their releases were timed? So instead of this guy being instantly released into your defenses and destroying them, on wave 8 he would instead just have a 3-minute timer, and that 3-minute timer would release 10 of them, right? So now you're left with 2 options. You can either slow down your attack or skip as many waves as possible in order to be able to rack up enough money to probably buy something that can deal with this exosuit threat, right? So if you choose A, you're rewarded for choosing A, because while it does take a bit more time, you now earn more money earlier, so you can spend it on all of your farms, right? But if you choose B, you skip through the waves in an attempt to earn as much money as possible in order to buy something that has ignore bullet resistance, right? So when you go to B, you are able to defeat this guy, but you do miss out on some of that early game money. So just like that, we've turned one really restrictive wave into something that is way more freeing and also has much more strategic potential. And that's what I think TDX really needs, honestly. But yeah, TLDR, unga bunga, no TDX content to make, add RNG and timed waves.